Hey, Besties.
Hey,
Welcome back to another episode of the Hello Bestie podcast. I'm Maggie.
I'm Tashima.
And it's Book Club Tuesday.
Yay!
If you all will recall, our book for this month is The Midnight Library.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope that you guys read it, be it be by, print or audio, and everything counts. So we'll go ahead and get into it. I have a few book club questions that I've gotten from a few different sources, and we'll be sure to link those below. But for the first one, so The Midnight Library was Tashima's pick. So to the person who chose this book, what made you want to read it? Did it live up to your expectations? Why or why not?
It was recommended to me by my cousin.
Mhm.
I didn't know much about it other than she was like, "You're gonna love this book."
Okay.
And so I'm not big on reading descriptions about books.
Mhm.
Like I do and I don't. And if I don't know. I didn't really look into it before. I just said, let's read it.
Okay.
And you read it. You were like, oh, this sounds interesting.
Yeah, I read the synopsis of it. It's funny. There's been a couple books, like with Addie LaRue, when you suggested it to me, I listened to the first couple pages of it and I was like, wait a minute. And then I read the synopsis. So
that's what I usually do. I'll listen to the sample or I'll read the sample and then I kind of determine if the writing style seems like something that I would, or listening to it, if it's going to be something I'm interested in. And that's how I decide.
Cool. Usually when I'm picking a book for myself, I will read the synopsis first and then I'll listen to it to see if I can, tolerate the narrator's voice or if it's going to be something I can really get into.
Yeah.
And then I'll choose if I want to read the book or not. But everything you suggested to me, I've listened to it or read it first and then not the whole thing, but gotten into it and then went and read the synopsis. So cool. So did it live up to your expectations? Did you have high expectations?
I had no expectations. I guess my cousin said it was going to be a great book, but it's always a matter of perspective.
It is.
So I try to keep my expectations very low when it comes to stuff like that. And so it exceeded my expectations, I guess.
Cool.
I could say.
Cool. Mine too. I thought it was a great book. So how would you rate it on a scale of 5 stars?
5.
Yeah, me too. Without hesitation.
Yeah, it was the easiest 5. I've as far as book club, I've not ever given a 5. This is hands down a very easy, quick 5.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay. So I have a few questions here that we'll both answer. So Mrs. Elm showed Nora the Book of Regrets. Oh, first, do you want to talk about what the book is about a little bit?
Yeah.
Just give a brief synopsis and I won't interrupt, I promise.
Yeah, you say that. It's a trap. So the Midnight Library is about a woman who sounds like she's in her mid-30s, I believe, if I remember correctly. Early to mid-30s, who just has a lot of bad things happen all at the same time. She's feeling very overwhelmed and underwhelmed with life. And she's in a dark place and she decides to end it. And when she does, she ends up at this place called the Midnight Library that is basically in between life and death. And she has the opportunity to try out different lives and see if there is an alternate life that she would prefer to the one that she's currently living. So there's a lot of philosophical references within the book. So it has a lot to do with like quantum physics and stuff like that. But it's not nerdy or sciencey.
Right.
It's, fiction.
Yeah, a good balance. That's a really, really good description of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so Mrs. Elm showed Nora the Book of Regrets. So every book in the library...
We will get there. Bear with her.
Every book in the library represents an opportunity, a life she could have chosen for herself. And the heaviest book in the library is the Book of Regrets. So Mrs. Elm showed Nora the Book of Regrets when she first entered the library, and Nora was overwhelmed by it when she first looked in. But as she experienced more and more lives, her list of regrets began to fade away. Do you think that, considering the ways in which our lives might have turned out differently, that our regrets truly go away, or do we simply learn to live with them?
That's a really good question. I think that they do go away, in my personal opinion. I think really getting a taste for the grass is not always greener on the other side, it just makes you appreciate, you know what? This is okay, because this is better than that.
Yeah.
And then with that being said, I think that you no longer have the regret for this other thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I agree to an extent. I think it depends on the type of regret. Like for a regret that you can go back and, or not necessarily go back, but you can, okay, I always wanted to do this when I was younger and I never did it. You still have an opportunity to go and do that. So once you do that thing, now you can wipe that away because you've done it.
Right.
But if it's something like with someone who's passed away or whatever, like those types of things, you just have to learn to live with them.
Right.
You can never go back and undo
like when
them.
she was asking, well, I want to go to the life where my mom doesn't die, and Mrs. Elm was like, that's not an option because this is your path. This is about your choices. So in that regard, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, there's a limit.
Like, yeah,
to-
there's nothing you could have done differently to extend your mom's life past where that was. So as the story progresses, Nora finds herself in lives that she could be more satisfied with than others that proved more difficult. Do you think you would be able to live as an alternate version of yourself? Would you want to?
In the beginning, it sounded amazing. And I was slightly envious of Nora for having the opportunity to do all of these different things. But then as we were going through the different lives, there is always a give and take. And for every life that she tried, there was also something very valuable to her that she then lost. You know, like the butterfly effect. You just change this one little thing and it has a domino effect and everything just starts changing after. And I just, by the end of it, I realized there is no book in my midnight library that would allow me to have the life that I have with my children. And for that, I wouldn't trade places with any other alternate life.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think I would trade places with an alternate life. I think the whole goal of the book is to be happy with what you have and understand you could have done this and this and that, but no life is free of pain. No life is free of sorrow. She had the opportunity to pick and choose. We don't all have that choice. We just have to learn that our paths brought, like, we made every decision that we made for a reason, and we are exactly where we're meant to be. And you're happier once you can believe that and just, you know, subscribe to that. Which one of her different lives did you find most interesting?
Interesting? I don't know if I would really use the word interesting, but the one that I wanted for her the most was her last.
With Ash and
Molly.
Yeah,
I wanted that life for
too.
her so bad. I almost thought she was going to get stuck as a glaciologist.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, why is she here so long? You know, when she just wasn't regretting anything and she just kept staying there. So I guess as far as interesting, that one probably was interesting.
I thought it was going to take a bit of a turn when she met the guy Hugo.
Same.
And then they slept together and it was like whack.
So
then she was
it's just like, can you imagine then being the other Nora and you're just like, this person.
Yeah. I thought the flip was going to be now they're both going to be sliders and try to figure out how to navigate alternate lives together. But then that just got shut down real quick.
Especially when he mentioned, so, okay, the romantic in me thought that there was going to be more to her and Hugo when he mentioned that he's come across her in alternate lives. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know, like maybe this is her person. This is amazing. Yeah. And then I'm like, but that sucks to have met him here because neither one of you could go back to your midnight libraries, but then like pick better circumstances.
Yeah.
So
his was a video store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part.
I liked, okay, so just for me and what I've been through initially, I thought that the swimming one was cool when she, you know, because she had been training for this and now you're an Olympic gold medalist and you're hearing the voice of your dead dad on the phone. And then when it was like he asked to FaceTime her, I was like, FaceTime him, you get to see him again. But I can understand how that could be overwhelming for her, but I was still like, FaceTime him, see him. And then as you go on to progress to find out that he cheated on the mom and then the mom died alone and died sooner than she would have, then it's like, man, the rock star one too, I thought she was almost like addressing a fear that she had because she left the band because she was afraid of the attention and just having her on the stage and doing her thing. But can you imagine just being thrust into a concert and you don't know any of the songs that you're about to play? Like, that had to have been crazy. But then she found out about her brother, and how she found out about her brother on the podcast was like heartbreaking. So it just goes to show, I mean.
And that's when I started picking up, wow, every single one, she's just losing stuff.
Yeah.
Left and right. And there just is no life where it all exists in the way that, you know, everybody's just alive and happy and well. And, you know, like her friend getting in the car accident.
That was super sad too.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff. And all of these things only existed in the way that she wanted and remembered in her current and her root life.
Yeah, I got sad when she first, I don't know if it was the first, it was one of the first ones that she picked, and she's like, I want to go back to a life where her cat didn't die.
Oh, yeah.
And then she looked under the bed, and I was kind of like, dang, Miss Elm, like, separate for the okie doke on that one.
Yeah, she's like looking everywhere for a cat. I was like, wow, that got dark. Like, she was there for like 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, Miss Elm she was a little savage.
She was a little savage.
You know what I also found interesting is when her and Mrs. Elm were playing chess at the end.
Oh.
And just really find out that she has her own book of regrets too.
Yeah.
She's like, you know, I wasn't a good wife and I wasn't the greatest mom. You're just like, damn.
Yeah.
That book of regrets hit me like a brick.
Yeah.
Like, it messed me up.
When she said how Nora reacted to it, and that she didn't open it again until Miss Elm was like, it's okay. And then she could see one, like, basically disintegrating from birth. Like,
wow.
The heaviest book in the whole library.
Mine has got to be like a series, if that's the case. There's no way. Not even in my wildest imagination could there probably be a book big enough for all my regrets from my whole life.
Like, reading that book really got me in my feelings of like, control what you can control, and tomorrow isn't promised, and do your best to erase as many regrets as you can.
Right.
You know?
Like, it's not too late to do some of the things that you wish that you could have done. Like, yeah, okay, in her 30s, she's not going to be an Olympic swimmer. She's not going to be a rock star. But mending the relationships that were affected by these decisions, that's something that you can do.
Absolutely. And she got to see it, though. Like, that is the great gift of this book. All of us don't, like, we're not going to have that opportunity to go in. So if you went to a midnight library, would you want to see what would have happened if you had done this or that? Or I totally would too. Because I just think when she went back to her root life, she already knows what she missed or what she didn't miss or what. So you can literally go on with your actual life and navigate it accordingly, you know? But everyone else, we just have to learn how to live with our regrets or try to do whatever.
Yeah. Not going to be a famous actress or a rock star or a ballerina. Like, those things aren't going to be a thing.
But if you did, you know, maybe you don't have this family member that you would have had you picked that different thing. So you have to learn to be content with it. It was a very thought-provoking book. Yeah. Extremely thought-provoking. Yes.
And also, I like that they didn't just tidy it up in this very, and then she asked Ash out for coffee and everything was amazing and they lived happily ever after. Right. She did have a baby named Molly. You know, I like that it was like, no, she still had money problems and she's trying to pick herself up and, you know, like, she's got a lot of work to do. This isn't going to happen overnight. And that is the part that I appreciated the most. That made it more relatable.
I really appreciated too that when she went back to her root life, she woke up extremely sick. Because remember the reason that she got to the midnight library because she took a bunch of pills.
Right.
And her like stumbling to her neighbor's house and saying, I did something
Covered
really
in
stupid.
vomit.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
something really stupid. I need you to call 911. And then, like, that was very realistic to me.
Mhm.
She doesn't get to just wake back up in her bed with this new profound
Right.
experience and just,
Birds are singing and chirping.
Yeah.
No, it was pouring rain. She's covered in vomit.
yeah,
She looks a mess.
yeah.
She's literally in the process of having an overdose.
Yeah, she feels like she's dying. Yeah, gets
Mhm.
rushed to the hospital. So that felt very realistic. And then something too, like, this is going to get dark and I don't know what we can say and what we can't say, but people who are thinking of ending it,
Mhm.
and we aren't clearly, but I just think this book is great for something like that. If her following day in the hospital doesn't show you how much difference 24 hours makes, because before she did what she did, she sent her brother a voicemail. And in her root life, her and her brother hadn't talked in a really long time. She thought he was mad at her for deciding to leave the band. And she hadn't talked to her best friend in a long time. She thought her best friend was upset with her about not moving to Australia. She sends a friend a text message, sees that the friend read the message but just didn't respond, which put her even more in her feelings.
Mm.
And the following day, her brother comes to the hospital, apologizes, says he's sorry for being distant. And then her friend texts her, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you yesterday. But I'm just like, wow, like if
Yeah.
you just wait and just see what's going to happen, just see what tomorrow brings. That was like,
And how much we jump to conclusions.
yeah.
You know, yes, she may have seen it, but like even you said, like you weren't able to turn off your read receipts, and sometimes you see it on your watch, or you see it, but you can't necessarily
Right.
respond at that time. But it says that you read it, but it's like I didn't actually.
Yeah.
It's just a notification.
And I'm not ignoring you. Like if
Right.
it came up while I'm driving or I'm, you know what I mean?
There's
like,
a million reasons.
Exactly.
But then the other person then gets in their head about whatever they think is happening.
Right.
Oh, she read it, but she's not responding, so maybe she doesn't want to talk to me. No, I just couldn't right then at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
just like you said, the difference that just 24 hours could make.
Yeah. And then it said that her brother, I think, had called her back or something, like less than an hour after she did what she did.
Mhm.
It's just like,
He's like, you're all the family that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. So the whole her marrying the ex-boyfriend and the whole pub situation,
I like that.
I like that one being a very first one. Like, what would have happened if I married him?
Mm-hmm.
So she can clearly see I did the right thing.
Yeah.
He's cheating on her and
drinking as much as I knew that he was
Yep.
going to.
Yep.
That I just made excuses and acted like I didn't see.
And then just realizing you have to live your life for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, I almost made his dream of moving and opening a pub my dream.
Yeah.
My dad wanted me to be an Olympic swimmer. Like, I made that my dream. So.
And the same with being in the band was her brother's dream.
Yep.
And going to Australia was her friend's dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the glaciology thing was kind of sort of hers, but influenced by the, you know, Mrs. Elm. And, you know, she just got to the point where, who am I?
I think that was the only thing, I'm not going to say that I didn't like about the book, because I felt like all the characters were developed very well, especially Nora. I wish she had a goal for herself. Like, all of her regrets were based off things that she didn't do, but she didn't really want to do them in the first place. Like, I wish that, I don't know, like we knew what she had aspired to, but then I also think that's kind of the point of the book too. Like, not everybody knows exactly what they want to do.
Because she spent her whole life
Right.
aspiring to everybody else's dreams.
Right.
Which I think happens more often than not.
I
You know,
agree.
we all have these things that we like and that we want when we're younger, and then as influences from our parents and society and friends and school and all these things kind of start to shape and mold us and lead us into a direction that sometimes you can get there and just realize, I don't even know how I got here.
Right.
Because I don't even like any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I've invested all of this time and energy, and what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Now I don't know what I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might as well just stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well. Yeah.
Such a good book.
It was a good book. I really appreciated all the alternative and just little like tidbits where she had the life where she was living in a winery with the Mexican guy.
Yeah.
And then later on in the book, she's at her brother's house and then picks up a bottle of that wine and looks on the back and sees that he's married to a different woman. So it was just to see what happened in her own life, but then just all the little tidbits and dynamics of what happened in other people's lives.
Like Dylan, the dog guy, and all these things that were slightly interconnected, and just something as simple as, well, if I did live in this picture perfect life, I would have never been here. Like, this store would have closed. This, you know, this person would have never played piano and then gotten in trouble. Like, there's just so many different things.
That was sad. I almost like was glad that that happened for her though, because these occurrences would keep happening where she realized that her root life did have meaning, you know?
Yeah. I just was so sad when she had to leave. Like, I know she really wanted that life.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess in my head, I hope that she gets something.
Me too.
You know, because I think for somebody who wanted a child but just wasn't ever really sure, to have a taste of life with a child, to then go back to a life where that may not be an option, that would make me sad.
Yeah.
Like, I could see where that would just start to, you know, take me back there. Because that clearly was a very important piece to her. She was so fixated on, like, this isn't my life, this isn't my life. And I guess in terms of the book, I think it was a little flawed to have her just come in with clean slate and not know anything. Like, I would have wanted her to have something.
Yeah, it's very difficult. But that life was also the first one where she said, you know, so this person called me out for lunch, and then when I went to lunch, I actually like recognized the person. She started to feel
a long
time.
Yeah,
a very long time.
A lot of fumbling.
Yeah.
You know, just
it is hard just to be thrust into a life. And I don't know, when Hugo saw her, he's like, oh, I know that look. I know what it's like to be completely and then people are telling her things that she did yesterday. Yeah. Like, that's, I don't know.
It's a phenomenal book, and it definitely has put things into perspective. I think anybody who's feeling like they're stuck in a rut, like life just really isn't what they want it to be, or they have a book of regrets, this is just such a great book to read and just put things into perspective. If you could do it all over again and have all those things, knowing, you know, there's a strong possibility you're not going to have the husband that you have now, or all, you know, all of these
you're going to have to
things.
Sacrifice something else, and you don't know what it's going to be.
It just really makes you say, ugh, it's tempting, but no, what I have in my root life is worth me saying, fuck the book of regrets.
Right. I love the part with her brother when they're in the Uber after the hospital. He's like, oh, I just met this guy, because in multiple alternative lives, he still had the same husband. Yeah. And this was him basically, oh yeah, there's this guy. I don't know if he's into me though. She's like, oh no, he's into you. Yeah. Like, just trust me, kind of thing. So I don't know. I just felt like, what power to be able to come back to your root life, and you know for sure that you made the right decisions. You just have to navigate life from where you are right now and figure it out. And like you said, I like that they didn't button it up with her and Ash, but I did like the idea of her seeing him and just hoping he's happy, you know, and maybe I'll ask him out to coffee, maybe not, who knows, like, I can choose. So
and for now, I'm just going to focus on me, and I loved that about the book. Right. Yeah. Like, everything doesn't have to have a Hollywood spin.
It doesn't, but it ended, I found the ending very satisfying, personally. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I thought it was good. So yeah, the Midnight Library, great pick. This is going to be hard to pick. Yeah, because it's like one of those, like, I think you said your cousin called it life-changing. It is one of those books that makes you think about things differently. I spent so much time and thought after reading this book, which then led me to the next book I read, which like put me all the way in my feelings.
Yeah, you were like, I was crying.
Super intense. So really, really good pick. Thank you for suggesting this. I'm glad that we read it.
Yeah. Same. I think it's something that I am, knowing the person that I am, I will be reading and listening to this book probably multiple times for the rest of my life.
Same. I
I'm
wish I
just
would have
gonna
brought
need
it.
it.
I had, because the besties, y'all know how we are. We say that we will wait and decide if we're going to buy a book. So this was on hold for a long time. So I just ordered it because I read the synopsis. You said that your cousin loved it. And I didn't see one person who said anything bad about this book. And that's pretty rare.
If somebody said something bad about this book, they're a troll.
I didn't see any person like say, I was like, I'm buying this one. Like, it'll sit on my shelf if it's not. And I'm so glad that I forgot to bring it with me. But I do have the physical copy, and I just love to be able to go back and reference it. And, and you're not even a rereader, but this is definitely a reread type of book, just for how it makes you feel.
And to keep you grounded and just remind you when you become complacent. Oh, I do have a couple of quotes.
Okay.
Will you indulge me?
Yeah, of course.
So my first quote is, "It takes no effort to miss the life we didn't have and to wish you were all those things." It's like, queen. It's easy to regret. It's the regret itself that makes us feel bad, which we know, but it just, when you think about it, it's not the fact that I'm not a famous movie star that makes me feel bad. It's the actual action of regretting it.
Right.
And that changed a lot for me. Because it just is like, it's not about that.
Right.
It's just about having missed an opportunity. And it could be literally anything. Do you have some, or am I just taking over?
I didn't write down any.
Oh, okay. I didn't want you to be like, sheesh, take a breath.
Did it? No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only have 2 more. Savor the drink in front of us and enjoy the song as it plays. That's what she was saying at the end. And I was like, oh, don't cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love, laughter, pain are all universal currencies. And that is what also made me realize that no matter which life I chose, all of the feelings are still going to be the same.
Right.
It wouldn't matter.
Right.
I'm still going to experience loss and pain and all these things. Like she was saying, in one life she's a junkie, in another one she's rich, in another one she's this and this. Like, even when she's like, I want, what did she ask for? Not a peaceful life. There was a word that she used. That's how she ended up with Dylan.
I think it was peaceful.
Was it peaceful?
I think it was peaceful.
And it just was so boring. Yeah. Like she was like,
these big ass dogs.
Like dogs everywhere and all of this just like completely uneventful life. And I don't even think she was there a whole day.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could want that because your current situation feels so full of chaos that you're like, okay, I want a peaceful life. And then you get there and you realize this sucks.
Right.
So it's just, everything about it is just amazing.
Something that made me sad, but I also appreciated it, was that in no life did she have both parents the way that she wanted.
Yeah.
Like in her root life, both of her parents were gone. In most of her lives, one or both parents were gone. And that goes back to Mrs. Elm's point. Like, so yeah, you can't have everything that you want. Everyone's going to have some source of pain, some source of trauma, some source of something. It's just about making the most of it. And how cool for her to be able to like plug and play and just, like I said, know for sure.
It was amazing.
Glad I didn't marry that guy because he was a cheater and a drunk. Glad I didn't become an Olympic gold medalist, because then my dad would have met this woman and like cheated on my mom, and she would have died sooner than
and got the real short end of the stick.
Glad I didn't become a rock star because it caused my brother to overdose. Glad I didn't become a glaciologist because I would have gotten eaten alive by a damn bear.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't, you know what I mean? Like,
glad
to know
I didn't go to Australia.
To know with such like,
certainty.
Confirmation.
Yeah. And just looking, obviously I think it's different just knowing your surface level regrets, like your very obvious ones. But then, as Miss Elm was saying, there are so many regrets that we have that just go way back.
So in the Book of Regrets, how you were just saying how because it was from age, like from 0 to I think 31 or 32, however old she was. Some are heavier than others, but it went back to like super old petty stuff. So do you think that you just forget? So if you forget about a regret, is it still a regret? Because we just said that the pain is in the regret itself, feeling that regret, not in the action itself. So,
well, I think it's kind of cumulative. I think it just kind of builds where they compound on top of each other. Just, you may not, like, there was one particular life where Miss Elm was saying, you know, like, this is something you couldn't have even imagined or something like that. I don't know, I guess.
But I think that was the life with Ash and Molly. Like, your life doesn't have to be this big, because if you think about it, all of her lives before was, you know, glaciologist trying to save the world and, you know, this and that, and becoming a huge rock star, becoming an Olympic gold medalist, having millions of followers and things. And like, maybe the life that you need and the one that's going to be best for you and that you're going to be happy in is like devoid of all of that. Like, it's not what you really expect. And I think like when you're not a celebrity or not like you fantasize about that because you think your life is going to be better with that.
Right.
And sometimes you're better off just having quiet nights at home and going to a job that you enjoy with people that you enjoy. And, you know, maybe you're not like a household name, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a great life and that one isn't worth living and that this one is like way up here. So
I think we also imagine having these regrets and being able to take all of this with us. Yeah. Like, we don't imagine having the regrets and then having to give it all up. Like, oh, I want to be a famous rock star, but I imagine that I would still have the exact relationships that I have with all of these people intact. Right. And that's where that sacrifice started coming in. No, you can be a famous rock star and you can do what your brother wanted to, but he has his own path. And in this one, he made different choices. So, yeah, this just, it was deep. It was moving. It was an incredible book. And I don't think, like, this will definitely go with, like, buy yourself a fucking release. Yeah. Like, this goes on the shelf of things that just need to be recommended to everybody, shouted from the rooftops. I agree. You just have to read these books, and they in some way are going to change your life. I agree. Perspective. 5 stars. Yeah. Yeah. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Do you want to tell everybody what we're reading next? All right, besties, thank you guys for joining us. So next month, we are going to be reading The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. So be sure to put that on hold, pick it up. If you want to buy it, go right ahead. You know, however you want to consume it, go right ahead. But we really enjoyed the Midnight Library. We really enjoyed discussing it. We hope you guys did too. If you haven't finished it, what are you waiting for? Read it. Listen to it however you can. Do it. Don't wait another second. Absolutely. And we're not getting anything. Like, this isn't like a commission thing. This is just Hex, yeah, you need to read this book. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. All right, besties. Well, we will see you next Tuesday. Same place, same time. Thank you as always, and have a great week. Bye, guys. Bye.